Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
There he is, the sports dad. Do you still have the sideline towel?
Well, I've got the flag and the towel.
Oh my gosh!
Like,
my gosh!
What should I do? It's a quandary.
I think you should.
All right, here it is.
You should wave them both.
Okay, so here's the thing, and then here's the towel.
Wow.
And so like now I'm the business. I mean, look at this. It's unbelievable. And so the nice gentleman who worked the sidelines, who came upstairs yesterday, and he must be a fan of the show, and handed me a towel, and I'm like, oh, thank you. So I'm watching.
What was like? Was it like the chain gang guy?
So,
like who?
He was a sideline guy. He had a hat on from the sidelines. I mean, it very well could have been. I don't know. But anyway,
Was it Brian Flores?
So I'm watching the highlight of Sam Darnold waving the towel on the sideline last night, and I'm like, oh. And then I look and I'm like, oh, that's this towel.
Is that the towel he waved?
I don't think it's the towel he waved.
Smell it. Does it smell like Sam Darnold?
It's the Gatorade sponsored towel.
Yeah.
So It's like, wow, that's awesome.
Wow.
So anyway, I'm just gonna do the show like this then, and let's go.
You should. Yeah, just put that over here. So we're live. Hello.
Hi,
Hello
everybody.
On the Purple Daily YouTube channel here. If you're new, and it feels like a lot of people are kind of jumping on here the last month, and we appreciate you. A couple things. So we go live right after Vikings games. We go live at 9 a.m. Central Time on Mondays for our hottest Vikings takes, and then we are also live for Feedback Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time, and then a bajillion recorded episode throughout the week here. Before we do anything else, get to our hottest Vikings takes. I have not seen it yet, but Declan did load in a pre-recorded hottest take from the beaches of Hawaii here, so we'll do that. But take the audience to the beaches of Quick Trip to start the show here.
Absolutely, positively. It's Monday, you get up, you're like, oh man, great game yesterday, but I got to go to work now. What should I do to get my day started right? And Sports Dad has the advice that's going to help you through the day, and that is stop at Quick Trip. That's right, because Quick Trip is your one-stop shopping place for everything that you could possibly need. It's a grocery store, but it's a convenience store, which means you don't have to go through the hassles that you do at the grocery store. But we're talking breakfast, lunch, dinner, a snack. We're going to round the corner here for the delicious Karuba coffee. Absolutely outstanding. Everything that you could possibly want. Plus, fill up that tank. It's winter, so make sure that thing is near full. And give the gift of Quick Trip as well by picking up a Quick Trip gift card in-store or online at quicktrip.com/cards, quicktrip.com/cards. And when you do stop at Quick Trip, of course, as always, tweet us, send us a photo at @JZolgad, @ScoreNorth. Always love to see. In fact, I think we saw one, Phil, this past weekend from someone who came into town and actually just went to a quick trip because we keep talking about it.
Yeah, when you guys support our sponsors on this show, it helps keep this a 365-day-a-year Viking show. So the people that have sent pictures this week of stopping at a Quick Trip, to the person yesterday who DM'd me saying, hey, I just got my wife a $500 gift card at Woodhouse Spas, to the couple that came on with the Justin Jefferson Pepsi Cup. I know maybe we can drive you guys nuts sometimes, but thank you for supporting our sponsors here on the show.
$500 gift card. That's a good.
It's no joke. Yeah. I just want to say before we get to hottest takes, that was so much fun yesterday. It really felt like the culmination of a multi-part Marvel series or something, or it was like the Vikings conquered the villain at the end of the movie and everyone got to celebrate, or if you're a wrestling fan, when the good guy goes over at the end of WrestleMania and the confetti falls from the arena. That to me, that's what it felt like. Sam Darnold absolutely slaying yesterday, the best game of his career, while Kirk Cousins, greedy Kirk Cousins, curls up in the fetal position, throws a couple bad interceptions, and the Vikings move on with their lives.
I think I said this on Ventline yesterday, but it felt like an important game too. It felt like a meaningful, when we look back, and I don't know, of course, how this is going to play out, but when we look back on a team that's 11-2 right now in the 2024 season, It felt like an important game. It was Cousins. It was an extended period of, and again, I'm not complaining, but it was an extended period of close games, right? But now that ends. And a game that looked like it was destined to be close ends up being a rout. Like, I just think that there are certain games that define seasons, 2009, game 3, right? Like, the first 2 games are fine. You win those games, but then you come back and you beat San Francisco on that Favre pass. And it's like, whoa, okay, this is something. I think we had sort of gotten away from the feeling, despite the 10 wins going into yesterday, Phil, that this was something. But yesterday was like, okay, let's take a step back here and appreciate this. So, yeah, I just thought for a multitude of reasons, including, Kirk being on the short end of the stick and Darnold being the superior quarterback, I thought that was a really important, like, signature type win, which will help define 2024.
Yeah. So why don't you lead off here? Let's go. Judd, you're also going to bring us the pie chart of praise later on. Give us your hottest Vikings take. Then we'll go to Hawaii, and then I can round us out with the hottest Vikings takes portion.
Okay. My hottest Vikings take, and hear me out on this, is that Kevin O'Connell, and to a certain degree, Darnold, but O'Connell, Kevin, I'm talking to you, you're both full of crap yesterday. So at the end of O'Connell's press conference, Ben Gessling actually did a very nice job of putting O'Connell in a position to take a bow. He's like, for all that Sam's gone through, you lost your quarterback. You were put in a position where you took on a guy, and I think that he phrased this as nicely as possible, but you're taking on a guy that was sort of laughed at, and here you are, 11 wins, you just beat Kirk, and Gessling's question was, does that mean something to the front office and to you? And O'Connell just sort of smirked and said, no.
He can't say yes, though, right?
No, he can't. But what I'm saying
can't
is,
say yes.
So what I'm saying is, my hottest take is, I'm saying he is full of malarkey because he can't say yes, because that win in spades meant a ton to Kevin O'Connell. Absolutely a ton. It's not because of why we enjoyed it. I don't think it had a lot to do with Kirk as a person. Like, I think he genuinely likes Kirk. And I think that the report in The Athletic over the weekend was correct. I think Kevin O'Connell in a perfect world brings Kirk back. But the reality is, when he didn't bring Kirk back, he was left with unknowns. He was left with, and he is acutely aware. Full of crap part 2. He tries very hard to say, we don't listen or we don't know what's being said. He knows everything, and he alludes to it in team stuff.
He does. But he's even a little more careful now in the post-game speeches, because now there's 5 boom mics and 3 cameras.
I know.
So I feel like you were getting even, because he would say some like behind the curtain stuff in those, and it felt like I still love the post-game locker room speeches, but he didn't say everything that he would have said. There's like another speech that happens after the cameras go off, or Monday morning, or whatever it is.
Yes.
That we don't get access to the full KOC in that regard.
Yeah, and I think the truest KOC thing that I've seen, and I think it might have been the night training camp started, and it got put out about 2 months ago. He's talking about the fact that basically everyone thinks we're dog bleep. And so, but the thing with O'Connell and this team is this. Do you think if Kirk Cousins comes back at quarterback, do you think that Vegas puts them at 6.5 wins? There is no way on God's green earth that they get 6.5 wins.
It's probably like 8.
It's at least 8.
8.5.
At least 8. Exactly right. So everyone thought this team is screwed in large part because they thought Sam Darnold stinks, and for Sam to ball like he did yesterday, and he was outstanding. But that also was a week of, okay, let's shut everybody up. So you can, and Sam Darnold, don't wave the towel if that's a win against a 21-point win against Jacksonville.
And and the way the crowd got into it.
Yes.
And Jefferson is standing up on the bench waving a towel too. I mean, like,
yes. Oh, hold on. Oh, wait. Oh, I got it. I'm back. But yeah, that's my My hottest take is that this win meant a ton. And, for a multitude of reasons, this win meant a ton. And they won't say it, this was vindication for O'Connell, for Darnold, hell, for Kwesi as well. This was vindication of not only did we make the right move from a financial perspective, but everything that went around that has worked for us.
I want to put a pin in the Kwesi conversation and circle back to it. In fact, if you don't mind, your hottest take, I already had a hottest take planned, and I do want to deliver it because I think it's going to be a little bit of a curveball for you. But I'd like to add a second hottest take. And Declan's out today, so we definitely got some air to fill, right?
Explore the space, and we will circle back to the GM conversation.
Yes, we will.
Take it offline for now, though,
yeah.
Okay? Let's just go offline for now.
Let's go offline to Maui, where I have not clicked play on this.
Oh my
Producer
God.
AJ, Declan sent this to AJ, loaded it in. All I see is the thumbnail. And the thumbnail image is blue sky, Maui Beach, and a shirtless, mustached man potentially holding a cocktail.
This could be the greatest hot take of all time, or this show could be canceled by 3 p.m. today.
Yeah, or he could be slurring his. I have no idea.
Okay.
But here is Declan's hottest take from his honeymoon.
All right, boys, here's my hottest take. Sponsored by my friends at Underdog, 50% deposit match. With promo code SCORE. That's right, I still ad reads on my honeymoon. You might be able to hear these crashing sounds of the waves in the ocean. And you know what? You know what the crashing sound is that you actually hear? It's not a rebuilding year for the Vikings. It's not 11-2 as my wife giggles and laughs at me as I try to deliver this expert take. Because you know why? This is not rebuilding. This is not a fun pop-up. This is not can they get a fun little home playoff game. You know what this year is? This is a Super Bowl year. That's right. My hottest take is this is not a rebuilding year. This is a Super Bowl championship team. Minnesota Vikings, my hottest take, as the waves come up against me here, are going to the Super Bowl. That's my hottest take, baby!
Oh, my God.
And for the audio audience, and by the way, apologies for the bad audio. He's literally standing in the ocean in Maui. But he kind of he dove into the ocean there at the end. Have we heard from him? I guess he was texting us after dinner.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure he's okay because he just kind of dove into the ocean. They cut the camera there.
I don't know for sure. And yeah, that's a hot take. That definitely qualifies as a hot take.
But they're on a short list. They're on a short list of teams that can win the whole thing. And the teams that you would put above them, Chiefs, again, grinding a game last night at home.
Yeah,
they have to doink a 39-yard field goal.
Yeah.
They've got the best coach and greatest quarterback, and those are factors that are outside of a box score. But that team plays close game after close. You would be in a close game with the Chiefs if you played them in the Super Bowl, right? The Lions are the most powerful force in the NFL. Well, their defense has 15 guys on IR. You already probably should have beat them the first time you played them. You're going to get another crack here in a couple weeks. So they're on a short list.
I feel like they are on a short list to make it from their conference. I need more time to think about the opponents from the American Football Conference. Like Josh Allen yesterday, and they lost. Did you see that? That guy was a one-man wrecking crew. But yes, they definitely are at the rate that they are going, especially with this Sam. That's the thing too. With this Sam, the past 4 games, they're definitely on a short list, but that's a hot take. I believe that you said, your hot take about a month and a half ago was that the Vikings were Super Bowl champions in did you say 26?
26. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we have now upped that to this season.
And I guess to elaborate on that hot take from a month or two ago, I think they have a better chance to win the Super Bowl this year than they will next year with a first-year J.J. McCarthy. But McCarthy, with his non-existent cap number, with his upside,
Right.
the way that Kevin O'Connell feels about him, his leadership, gives you a window of like 5 or 6 years before you really have to start paying top dollar.
But there's a discussion here, Phil, too, to be had about what you can do with your roster because of the contracts. Like Sam Darnold, like the feel good thing is, oh my God, what an unbelievable year. And it's been really good. Don't get me wrong. But he had two games where he was awful, where he was liftably bad.
Mm-hmm.
And they still won both games. They didn't win because of Sam.
Of their team.
They won because of their team. So like there's a whole discussion. Sam's game deserves, and he deserves all the praise in the world. But the reality is the story of this Vikings team is not Sam. It's the team that they were able to construct and keep because of Sam's contract.
And oftentimes the story of Vikings teams in the Kirk Cousins era was all the things around the $30, $40 million quarterback that needed to be fixed or needed to be better, or the defense gives up 30. And it's like everything that we had talked about for years manifested in front of our faces yesterday. And so I'll give you the first of what's going to be two hottest takes here.
Oh boy.
Because you mentioned Kwesi. So my first hottest take is that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, hands down, is the NFL General Manager of the Year in 2024. Let's forget about the 2022 draft. Total train wreck. That was 2 years ago, 3 drafts ago. He does have to get better as a drafter. But as the Athletic article, it was Diana Rossini, right, who put that out?
Yes.
And it's worth a read. But she essentially said that there was some back and forth internally with the Vikings that Kwesi had drawn a line in the sand. He started raising a red flag months before free agency that this isn't going to work. Kirk is going to want a contract that would be stupid and foolish of us to agree to. But Kevin was so comfortable with Kirk, and I'm not ripping on Kevin. Yep. Kevin has a relationship that goes back a decade with Kirk. He got Kirk to a new level as a fourth quarter escape artist, 8 fourth quarter comebacks in a 13-win season in 2022. Then there was the way that Kirk was playing right before the Achilles injury that, wow, what if he had stayed healthy, that sticks in Kevin O'Connell's mind. And just like the comfort and safety blanket of having a guy that can run your system, he's going to give you a high floor. You're not going to lose a bunch of games. But they kind of argue behind the scenes. And it was ultimately Kwesi who won the argument, the way I sort of interpret it. Not that Kevin wasn't like along for the ride at the end of the day. But last March, Kwesi had one of the best free agency periods of any general manager in recent NFL history. Mm-hmm. When you start with saying no to the endless run of bad Kirk Cousins contracts, he said, we are no longer going to be held hostage by a mid-tier or non-elite starting quarterback. That's the starting point of this conversation. And Kevin, I trust that whoever we bring in, whoever we draft, that you're going to make it work because you're an awesome quarterback whisperer coach. And so, of course, like the minute they made that decision, they also knew that based on Kevin's feedback, Sam Darnold was the guy to come in as the bridge. So they had done that homework.
Sure.
So goodbye, Kirk Cousins. And then to much scrutiny, hello, Sam Darnold as the likely starter in 2024. Because when they signed Sam, they didn't have another viable starting quarterback on the roster. They draft J.J. McCarthy, but even then, Sam was like always positioned as the starting quarterback to much scrutiny locally and around the country. If you stopped right there and added no other moves or context and said, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah drew a line in the sand and said, I know that he's been a really good, reliable starting quarterback, but we are done with Kirk Cousins, and we are replacing him with an abject failure and bust in Sam Darnold. That move alone warrants, NFL General Manager of the Year, because Sam has vastly outplayed Kirk Cousins. But then, with the cap savings from Kirk Cousins' contract coming off the books, starting in 2025, by the way, because they're still paying $25 million in dead money to Kirk for this year.
Right.
He went and signed a bunch of impact defensive and offensive free agents and took the accounting and shoved most of that money into the first year of freedom, 2025 and beyond. Grenard, Van Ginkel, Grenard, who leads the league in pressures. Van Ginkel, who almost had another pick six yesterday. Blake Cashman, more on him shortly, by the way. Aaron Jones, Stephon Gilmore, Shaq Griffin. And they structure those contracts so that most of the money hits after Kirk's money comes off in 2024. And then, again, with the cap freedom and savings, Justin Jefferson, yeah, I think we can make you the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. And if he happened to nail J.J. McCarthy in the same sort of window, then it's even better. But before you even get to the draft result, that was one of the best free agency periods of any NFL general manager in recent NFL history. And I think Kwesi deserves to be hottest take number one, NFL GM of the year.
The line in the sand, too, though, made so much more sense than anything that this team had done. Like, it's not that hard to draw a line. And according to more reporting at the time, the Vikings offered Kirk a guaranteed 2024, some guarantees into 2025. And the Falcons are like, oh, no, we will guarantee more, $100 million. And the Vikings are like, we can't.
Jacob says Kirk is the guy that said no. Well, he said no. He said no to the Vikings.
He said no
much
to what
worse
the Vikings
offered.
The Vikings
he
gave
wants
Kirk
money first and foremost.
Yeah, the Vikings gave Kirk a very fair offer. But where Kwesi gets all the credit is, for the first time in that building since 2018, somebody finally said no. All they said was, here's what we got. Here's what we can give you. From a practical standpoint, you're coming off an Achilles, you're 36 years old. You've won one playoff game. We are willing to offer you a very fair contract. The blessing is that Kirk said no, but it was Kwesi. I mean, O'Connell wanted Kirk to take the offer that the Vikings gave. And and this comes back to a conversation we had 1,000 times, which is, at the end of the day, Kirk wasn't here to try to win. He was here to try to get paid. And he got paid, but he also bristled about the fact that the Vikings said, hey, Kirk, we are going to try to draft a quarterback to replace you. And Kirk's like, I don't like that. But the devil that you know beats the devil that you don't know, because then the Falcons said, oh, no, you're great here. And literally, Kirk is driving home from a draft party in Atlanta last April, and he gets a phone call saying, we're about to draft Michael Penix Jr. Just think about all that.
Yeah. And think about this, too. He had already made like $250 million playing football going into the last contract negotiation. He was already one of the, I think, 5 or 8 highest paid players in NFL history going into that contract discussion. You're coming off an Achilles. You're 36. You've never won anything. Your legacy at this point is how much money you make at the negotiating table. And you have maybe one short window here. Not everyone plays till they're 45 like Tom Brady. We love to use that as the new benchmark. That is not the case.
Right.
Once you get to be 36, especially with an Achilles, it's like, okay, you maybe have 2 years left of high caliber play. Do you want to leverage that into another ridiculous payday as your first priority? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to stick with something that you've been building and stick with what's working and help continue this thing forward with the Vikings? And when he was asked about that situation back in early, like I think it was the exit interview back in January or, it was when the Vikings were packing up and leaving for the year. And he said, it's not about the dollars. It's what the dollars represent. It wasn't, we have unfinished business. Well, it wasn't, I want to win a Super Bowl. I love being here. And he said some of those things. But his main headline, his main priority was, it's what the dollars represent. My ego and my net worth and whoever is involved in that decision, family, agent, that is the priority. And then if we get that right, now we can maybe start talking about winning and all the things that actually make up a player's legacy.
Well, and Kirk's need to be in control is the best term that comes to my mind, was such a thing, because he could have said the same thing about the draft pick. It's not about the draft pick. It's not about the fact that you're taking a quarterback. It's what that represents as a threat to me. Like that's what he is about, which is fine. Again, the Vikings caught a break here. The Vikings caught a huge break, but I do applaud Kwesi. And I do applaud the Vikings for just drawing a line. It's really not that hard if you think about it. But somebody finally just said, here's what we can do. Like it's a freaking negotiation. You're not a hostage. And for years, the Vikings, and to a certain degree, a large part of the fan base, was held hostage because of the quarterback thought of, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like the Darnold conversation is going there right now, and it's sort of funny because it's the same thing with a very different human being playing out. But to your point, back to Kwesi and what the Vikings did roster construction wise too. Let's look at this too. How they have operated between the margins of stuff that we don't appreciate. And this goes beyond, this is Kwesi and the scouting staff. And again, you're right. The college part hasn't worked out fantastic. The pro personnel part has worked out, I think, among the best in the entire league. Jalen Redmond is an XFL guy who was, I think, out of football last year. He has been of late dominant.
Two games, yeah.
But a wrecking ball. Like the Vikings very well might have something here. This is how you win. You find guys. Another one, their Moneyball based philosophy, which actually, when you think about it, makes a ton of sense. If I think they get a decent report on a former first round pick who washes out, they scoop him up. So Jasmine Davis yesterday, a first-round pick by Washington, who evidently Washington tried to make into like a rush end, and it failed miserably, shocking. And by the way, that's the previous incarnation of the Commanders, which qualifies as a dumpster fire. Davis had been sitting on a Green Bay's practice squad, and the Vikings are like, hold on a second here, we got guys hurt. Your former first-round pick. And I think this is the Brian Flores thing, too, where he says, wait. What if I use you correctly? Yesterday, dude gets a sack.
Yeah.
Dude plays. He is basically, I think I'm not sure what his snap count was, but he was out there quite a bit. Yeah.
9 snap, yeah.
Yeah. Or a decent amount, not quite a bit. But anyway, the point is, that's another thing. And Kwesi and his staff get credit right there.
Well, how about let's to Jalen Redmond. First of all, he started.
Yeah.
And played 39 snaps in that game. Had a handful of tackles, flashed a couple other times, and kind of there was a blitz where he had the initial pressure, it looked like, and then a couple other guys either got home or got the quarterback knocked down. Gabriel Murphy was active for the first time. Gabriel Murphy played 28 snaps. He was the premier undrafted free agent that the Vikings wrote a bigger check to than the other undrafted free agents available. And if I remember back to Judd and Phil's camp notes back in the first week and a half of training camp, we were both watching and saying, okay, yeah, Dallas Turner for sure. Dude, Gabriel Murphy can play.
Yep.
He was getting run with the undrafted free agent, getting run with the first team defense the first week in training camp in full team. And he's out there finally healthy, 28 snaps, had a quarterback hit. Like there's some pieces. Can I give you my other hottest take here?
Go ahead.
Because it's about the defense. So Blake Cashman is the most important player on the team. So when Blake Cashman plays, and I know the defense looked a little rickety at times yesterday, but hear me out on this. The Vikings are now 10-0 when Blake Cashman plays this season. Mm-hmm. They have a plus 103 point differential in those 10 games when he plays. Mm-hmm. So if my math is right, when he plays, the average outcome is a 10-point Vikings win. That's really impressive, just on its face. That point differential is fourth in the NFL in games that he plays, behind only the Lions, Eagles, and Bills. The defense gives up just 17 points per game when Blake Cashman plays, second in the NFL behind only the Chargers. And the Vikings are second in yards per play allowed, behind only Philadelphia in games in which Blake Cashman plays. And this is my favorite one, in the passing game. And again, it was more, the yardage was kind of bad, but it was the running game that got gashed more than anything yesterday. But in the 10 games of Blake Cashman, opposing quarterbacks have a collective passer rating of 75, which is number one in the NFL in terms of best pass defense. Mm-hmm. To put that into context, Jamarcus Russell had a higher passer rating in 2008 with the Raiders Jamarcus Russell had a 77 passer rating in 2008. And the Blake Cashman-led Vikings defense in those 10 games is holding opposing quarterbacks to a worse passer rating than Jamarcus Russell. Some of it's his ability in coverage, his versatility. I think him being in his position also allows Josh Metellus to do what he does, and it allows, and when Ivan Pace is healthy. But Blake Cashman is the most important player on the team, 10-0 when he plays.
I mean, he's been fantastic, and he's a guy that came here, and I know that he played at Eden Prairie High School for the Gophers, so he was a familiar name. But he's a guy that came here with a history of being injured a lot, and yeah, he missed 3 games. But you know what? The common denominator that I'm finding in the Flores defense with some of the most successful players too is this, and I don't think it's normal. The top players are everywhere. Blake Cashman, you see him around darn near every play. Mm-hmm. Josh Metellus, you see him around a ton of plays. Andrew Van Ginkel, you see him around a boatload of plays, both in the backfield and down the field. The swarming nature of this defense and its linchpin type of players is really impressive, because it's not just that they're moved around in some cases. It's that they're actually the athletic ability of getting of their movements and where they end up, and again, the swarming that they have. And Blake Cashman fits right in. It is remarkable. If there was a stat for when a tackle is made, who's around the ball the most, my guess is Blake Cashman, very near the top of the entire league.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been, man, like you kind of knew, he had a pretty good year in Houston. But it's fit, man. Like these guys all just, it's a coordinator who knows exactly what he wants to do with certain pieces.
Right.
And then a general manager who went out and secured the chess pieces.
Well, and this also, this shines such a light on post-Kirk with Zimmer and Spielman, right? Where it fell apart. And clearly Spielman was drafting guys and acquiring guys he liked and handing them to Zimmer, who bristled about it.
Yeah.
And so now it's the polar opposite of that, where a buddy of Flores in Eden Prairie says, you should look at Blake Cashman. I think he fits really well. And Flores like, oh, really? Oh, okay, cool. I'll go look at his tape. He looks at his tape. He's like, oh, yeah, this is spot on. Goes to Kwesi. They sign the guy. Like, think about this. You got a guy from Eden Prairie, I don't even know his name, who's buddies with Flores, who tells him, this off of 5 years ago where no one would even talk to each other because they hated each other.
Always be scouting. Always be scouting.
But I'm just saying, so like Brian Flores doesn't even necessarily get the credit for identifying Cashman, but he gets the credit for listening to his friend, and then the Vikings get the credit for listening to Flores. Like, think about that intricate marriage for success. When you look at 5 years ago, everybody would bristle and not talk. So like this is how you build a team.
Yeah. Yeah, it starts with your general manager and your head coach being on speaking terms, which is
that
great.
helps. That helps. I mean, it is unbelievable when you see the and look, back to the Kirk thing, I'm sure there are debates. I'm sure there are fights. I'm sure that, O'Connell for a while there, and yes, Clinton, winning is fun. He's exactly right. But I'm sure that there were times in that building since Kevin got the job where he shot down a quarterback potential draft pick, and they're like, really, again? Yeah. Like, you don't like this guy? You don't like that guy? And that's the secret sauce, too, is Kevin's a very positive dude, and he's glowing about QBs and blah, blah, blah. But there's also a certain list that we don't know of guys he just doesn't want to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, I last night, man, Vikings Twitter was just on fire, and there was one conversation happening about, well, the only problem now was that people think that you can just you got to be careful saying goodbye to Darnold because people think you can just plug any quarterback in, and that's not true. There is a line. Like, Nick Mullins is below the line. Josh Dobbs is below the line. But when you're talking about high-end first-round talent, there's something here. Now, of course, he's been involved in Johnny Manziel and Washington with Ohio State quarterback. But so you're not going to bat 1,000. No one should say that, you can literally present anyone who is a former bust, Daniel Jones, and they're going to wind up with a 105 passer rating. It's not black and white in that way. But when you have someone in Kevin O'Connell that is so great at connecting with quarterbacks and teaching them and getting the most out of them, you should be really careful paying $40+ million for the quarterback and hamstringing the roster.
Yeah.
And this Darnold conversation is very much to be continued in February and early March. And there's some other options they could explore franchising him. But let's get to your pie chart here after we talk about eating pie responsibly. Livia, you can still enjoy the holidays and
absolutely.
come out on the other side.
And this is the ideal time to join because guess what? You're on the couch right now, right? Thanksgiving is done. Christmas, the holiday season is coming, and that means you're like destined to gain weight. You're like, I'm going to gain weight. And Sportsnet says, au contraire, Livia Weight Control Centers can help you not do that. In fact, how would you like to lose up to 10 pounds by the new year? That's right. Instead of gaining 10 pounds, instead of gaining 15 pounds, Sports Dad went back about 2 months back because, he was going to get a tune-up, 15 pounds off, just like that. Join now and get 8 weeks of their nutrition program, free expert advice. I'm going to tell you right now, it's incredibly helpful. One-on-one guidance, no judgment, just weight loss plus GLP-1 weight loss meds starting at just $199 for the first month. It is a program, folks, that works. And how would you like to have 10 pounds off by Jan 1? Is that not attractive? LIVEA.com. 855-GO-LIVEA. Livia Weight Control Centers. Livia.com is where your weight loss and your weight losing December start.
Okay, over on Prize Picks, a couple things, man. It's been a nice little football season for old Macadac on Prize Picks. Not going to lie. But they had one for the game yesterday between the two teams. It was like a shortest field goal, 20, I think it was 28.5 yards. And I said, these teams, if they get that close, there's no way these coaches would settle for a field goal. Well, the Falcons, they kicked the field goal from like the 2-yard line. So it's kind of a dud for me. Right now, they have a special for next weekend's game between Kansas City and Cleveland. It's basically a free square. Patrick Mahomes, 0.5 pass yards. You can add that to any combination. With Prize Picks, you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. You select between 2 and 6 players. You pick more or less on their projected stats, and you place your entry. Download the Prize Picks app and use the code PURPLEDAILY to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's code PURPLEDAILY to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Also, a shout out to Federated Insurance. They've been around for over 100 years, helping businesses maximize their success through risk management. They focus on safety and preventing claims and risk management so you can focus on running your business. It's like having a great offensive line for your business. They focus on pass protection. You focus on hunting down the field for chunk plays.
Oh, I love it.
At Federated Mutual Insurance Company, it's our business to protect yours. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
All right, Chef Judd.
All right. Before I start, though, I do have one question. Jonathan Gannon, Raheem Morris, coaches respectively of the Cardinals and Falcons, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I checked, they're young men. They're not 65. How do you get back-to-back opponents who were playing football in 1975? Like they're literally kicking, like you're on the road, even if the Vikings don't score a ton of points, which they did on Sunday, they have the potential to. And how do you kick a field goal from the 2? How do you have you're 4th and 4 from the 4, so 4th and goal, basically, and you don't go for it, and you kick a field goal? Like, I'm not complaining, but
on the road,
what are you doing?
Dude, yeah, on the road with a quarterback that's been like, to play conservative in that regard. And the clock game management stuff has been really bad lately across the league. The Buffalo-Los Angeles game, the Rams and Bills, just an absolute crazy shootout. And the Bills correctly save the 3 timeouts for the end game.
Yeah, I saw
and Sean McDermott green lights a quarterback sneak with a minute to go. They need to score twice. They need a field goal, touchdown. They would have been better off literally kicking a field goal than running a quarterback sneak, because if you get tackled And I would even argue, don't call timeout. Just line right back up and let 20 seconds run off the clock.
Good job on this.
He did.
Tom Brady did a really good job with that.
Brady was great, actually, down the stretch in that game.
Yeah.
And he was kind of eviscerating the Bills and saying, and Kevin Burkhardt was like, well, the first things first, though. You got to get in there. And Tom's like, no, this cost them the game.
Well, he said just throw. His point was just throw passes because it's either going to be a completion or it's going to stop the clock.
Yep.
No, he was exactly right. But I don't understand these last two games. I feel like I'm watching Hank Stram coach against Paul Brown.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It does feel.
Let's kick the field goal from the 2. Well, you're going to lose. You have Bijan Robinson. He's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
And you've
been running the ball all day.
Anywho.
So,
okay,
all right.
I got
The
the
Rock
pie chart.
knows how you feel about pie.
Okay, 8 recipients, 7 slices. Wow. Some very difficult math. Follow along at home and tell me if Sports Dad passes the test.
Here, let me see if I can fire up a little. There we go.
Thank
Can you hear that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Look at me
just low
producing,
enough.
just throwing some production in there.
Look at that. Very nice production elements. This is very impressive. Okay. Start at the very bottom of the pie chart. Of praise, 3%. Slice goes to 2 guys together because they combined for an absolutely huge play in this game. Brian Asamoah and CJ Ham.
Oh.
So the Vikings were only up 28-21 in a very back and forth game up until then. In the fourth quarter, the Vikings had just scored, and Asamoah on the kickoff forces the fumble that CJ Ham recovers at the Atlanta 32-yard line, setting the Vikings up for a score. So now it's 35-21 because that next drive, there's no guarantee that the Falcons don't score. Like that game, it had been 21-21, was very much yo-yoing back and forth, and it felt like that fumble on the return and subsequent recovery by the Vikings sort of began. It was the beginning of the end of, okay, this is not going to be as close as I thought.
Yep.
So great play on both parts. And Asamoah, a member of that very discussed, debated 2022 draft class, he deserves a lot of credit. That dude has embraced special teams. And you can stay on a roster by doing that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's a guy that we thought a couple of years ago would be starting. He did get in garbage time late in the game on Sunday, which had to gall Kirk Cousins. But anyway, he's a guy that easily could have just been like, I don't think it's going to work here for me. I want to go. He could have pointed fingers a lot of other places. Been a special teams monster, as is Ham. So 3% goes to both of them. They just share a piece because it's a very important little piece.
They also both got game balls in the locker room yesterday, too.
Let's just say that I did my pie chart before I watched the game balls. KO
reflects
and
pretty
Sports
closely.
Dad, very much on the same page.
Yeah.
Very much on the same page.
All right.
I'm very proud of KO. All right. 8%. Couple of 8% slices here.
Oh boy, the math. This is where the math starts to.
Oh,
go
it's gonna.
off
Well, you
track
just wait.
here.
It's gonna get even more dicey.
Careful.
So yeah, like I said, if you've got the calculator out at home, you check Sports Dad's math. 8% Byron Murphy Jr. This guy now has 6 picks. Had a pick on Sunday that was a really nice pick. I mean, it's a one-handed grab. The pass by Cousins was a bad pass, but it was so bad that it almost evaded the receiver and the cornerback. Byron Murphy Jr. Now, he went into the end zone to try to get it to be a touchback at the 20. It was not. He actually caught the ball at the 2, and you can't then just saunter into the end zone to force a touchback. But anyway, 6 picks is great. He's a guy who early in the season at some point in time, Brian Flores was talking about this a couple weeks ago. Flores pulled him aside because I didn't think he was bad last season, but he didn't really flash to me much. And then at the beginning of this year, I thought the same thing. Contract year as well. Well, message received. Byron Murphy Jr. had a really good, solid year. And number 2 is going to get paid by someone, but he has been an absolutely key contributor in a cornerback room that I think we were all, rightfully so, pretty concerned about entering the season.
His first year with the Vikings, he allowed opposing quarterbacks a 102 passer rating when targeting him. This year, 69.4. This is by far the best year of his 6-year career in the NFL. Cardinals for 4 years and then Vikings for 2. and he's still only 26 years old.
Yeah.
So that's the crazy thing is like as you look to get him under a new contract, usually when a guy has been in the league for 6 years, he's like pushing 30, he's probably 28, 29, then you got to be careful at that position. No, I mean, he still probably has 2 or 3 years left of cornerback prime, and he's getting better. So, yeah, 6 interceptions, by the way, blows away his previous career high. He had, I think, 10 interceptions total coming into 8. He had 8 career interceptions coming into the season, and he now has 6 in 1 year here.
I think he's back.
I agree.
I think he gets paid, but I think he's back. All right. Another 8% slice of pie chart of praise. This one goes to Josh Metellus. The pick of Kirk was great. It was a ball that I'm pretty convinced that Kirk thought he could force through there. It was a bad pick, but I think Kirk still thinks he's got zip, and I don't think Kirk appreciates the fact that when you can't plant because your Achilles is still not back, that you don't have as much zip on the ball as you think. Metellus again around a ton of plays on Sunday. I mean, just such a valuable. It's really hard to quantify, and it's funny because he tweeted something this weekend urging the Pro Bowl vote. He's like, "Please vote for me" or something at safety, and I tweeted back. I said, "They've got to add a rover, dude. Like you're a rover. You're not a safety. Like you're never going to get in as a safety because you're not a safety. You're a rover. There are peer safeties who are far more well known and popular than you, but he is a rover and he does a marvelous job. And I think that he really does from day one. He sets the foundation of what the Flores defense is about: versatility, just ability to do a bunch of things well. But that pick, I also thought to myself when he picked off that Kirk ball, Phil, I thought, I wonder if he picked that ball off a few times in practice. Like it was almost like he was prepared for Kirk to do that. So 8% also goes to Josh.
I see what Kirk was trying to do because it looked like he was going to throw kind of a back shoulder with Metellus leaning the other way, but Metellus was watching the whole time.
Yep.
By the way, to your point, so he's classified as a safety, but he only played 3 snaps in the classic free safety spot, which is where Cam Bynum usually parks and Harrison Smith when he drops back. But Josh Metellus played 20 snaps in the slot, which was the leader on the team yesterday. He played 35 snaps in the box, which was second to just Blake Cashman. But he also played 7 snaps as an outside edge rusher, and then 2 more snaps as a straight-up cornerback in that game.
Right. See, yes. So he is a Pro Bowl player, but it's not as a safety.
Yeah. Okay, next slice.
Okay, here's where we get super dicey. This is the slice that will make or break me on math. 11%. 11%.
You're on your own now,
how do you get here? 11% goes to the aforementioned general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Because the reality is this: between him and Kirk because he was Kirk and was trying to get the bag, but Kwesi because he's probably the guy that drew that line in the sand. The reason why Sam Darnold was at quarterback yesterday, beyond a shadow of a doubt, had to do with Kwesi's line in the sand.
Yeah.
So he gets a slice of pie for that. He gets a slice of pie for the fact that he was willing to, as we talked about, say this is where we're going to, and after that, good luck, goodbye. Well, guess what? It played out like that, and we're talking about an 11-2 team right now largely because of that decision.
A lot of people, it's funny, you and I both will sample the national shows, especially on Monday morning, and so I'm sure you were watching Get Up maybe a little bit this morning, and I love everyone on that panel. Greeny is a friend of the show. Greeny used to come on our old radio show a couple times a year. We were actually trying to set something up with his producer. He was on a book tour, but he'll be on the show again soon. Love Greeny. I love Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan is just a big galoot with massively white teeth now. Orlovsky can be kind of prickly, but those guys spent 5 minutes this morning bewildered. Orlovsky was the only one that spoke sanity. But everyone else, yesterday on Countdown and today, bewildered that the Vikings have not already locked up Sam Darnold to a long-term extension. And what's funny is the same panels of people, not just on that show, but around the country, were bewildered as to two things. A month before free agency, it was not on anyone's radar that the Vikings might say goodbye to Kirk Cousins. It was like, whoa, clearly, why would that even be a conversation? Why would they say goodbye? And then when it started to pop up, 90% of people around the country with a microphone and a TV camera obviously they're going to re-sign Kirk Cousins. They'd all be idiots if they didn't, right? It'd be fireable to not re-sign Kirk Cousins. And now it's going to be fireable to not. So, in the face of that type of potential scrutiny, we are going to move off a known commodity who throws for 4,000 yards every year for Sam Darnold. Just say that out loud 9 months ago.
Well, just go back and look at Twitter from 9 months ago, too.
I know.
You got
to stick to his convictions.
Right.
And have it pay off like this.
Right.
Pretty wild.
It is, but it's also it's the first bit of sanity in a long time, too. Have a conviction.
Yep.
Have a conviction. Now, we could go back to training camp and say, and we did at the time, J.J. McCarthy gets hurt. How does this impact the entire thing? Because now Sam is really the guy, and that's a different conversation. But somebody finally had the intestinal fortitude to say, okay, this is it. But yeah, the panel thing I don't understand. I went back and watched that yesterday on Countdown. A month ago, everyone but Alex Smith thought Sam Darnold was crap. And now they're like, I can't believe. But Schefter also accidentally said that McCarthy tore his ACL. It's sort of like the Vikings are this afterthought of, we got to talk about the Vikings. The dude did not tear his ACL. A meniscus is bad. The ACL is way worse.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, all right, 11% to Kwesi, and now Judd tries to land the math plane with these next 3 slices.
3 more slices left. 20% goes to Justin Jefferson. First touchdown catch, if I'm not mistaken, in 6 games. Now, the last 2 weeks, there has been more man coverage. I was surprised it took 3 series to get JJ the ball. I believe he got a catch on the 3rd play of series 4. But the touchdown, it's funny. The second touchdown catch is super impressive because of Darnold scrambling and what was just turned into a broken play. In actuality, if you go back and watch it, the first touchdown catch is more impressive. That is an absolute dart by Darnold. Again, a pass that I don't think 2024 Kirk Cousins can make. It's an absolute dart thrown in the absolute perfect place because it was a ball that could have been picked if it's not thrown correctly. And and Jefferson did this, and this is the reason why it gets very dicey when you don't throw him the ball, unless he is absolutely blanketed, and then he might catch it. But did you see, Phil, there were about 2 or 3 plays, simple catches, for him. He made 2 or 3 what looked like simple catches. He's a big dude. He contorts his body. The only way I can put this that makes sense is he makes himself so small. He contorts himself. He's catching balls off the ground. I don't know how he's getting to that place with his body that quickly. But anyway, the Falcons played some single high. Praise the Lord. But Jefferson, absolutely huge game. And amazingly, I guess the first time in Vikings franchise history, dating back to 1961, and including Chris Carter and Randy Moss being teammates, that 2 teammates on the Vikings had 100 yards receiving and 2 or more touchdowns.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because this is probably the richest franchise in NFL history when it comes to wide receiver talent. Just high-end wide receivers. When we were doing our Mount Rushmore exercises, and you're literally leaving you're leaving guys like Stephon Diggs off. It's pretty impressive. What was the percentage on Jefferson again here?
20%.
20? Okay, so carry the 4. Yep. Okay.
Another 20% goes to the man who got 3 touchdown passes. Free 3. Jordan Addison has been freed. And hallelujah. Ain't it great to see? A huge game. My God, he is. He's not Jefferson, but he's a number one in his own right. He's catching. He's making beautiful catches. Now, he does not have the Jefferson advantage of size. He's not a very big guy, but he makes a ton of nice grabs. He does benefit from the fact that his teammate probably does draw at least ordinarily more focus, but 3 touchdown catches, just an absolute monster day. So, and to go back to when he either complained or didn't complain, if he was complaining about not seeing the ball more, he was right. Darnold and O'Connell have found him, and that performance yesterday was really impressive.
Yeah. So Addison now, even though he missed 2 games, right? Wasn't he out 2 games with injury?
Yep, I think that's right.
So even having missed 2 games, he's at 44 catches for 708 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Yep.
Pacing for 1,010. So he's going to put together potentially back-to-back 10 touchdown seasons to start his career.
He's got an end zone gene, man.
He does.
Like, he just ends up with touchdowns. It's pretty impressive.
It is really impressive.
All right, so 20% for Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and that leaves us with one final slice.
How you feel about pie?
Get your calculator set.
I've got the number here. Can he stick the landing?
I'm going to give it to you. 30% goes to Sam Darnold. What more can you say? 5 touchdown passes, probably way more important. No picks. I would argue that aside from the final point total, the most important statistic on any sheet from yesterday's game regarding the Vikings was 0. 0 picks by Sam. I believe it's now 4 consecutive games. I think he is now, in his past 4 games, has 11 touchdowns and 0 picks and 0 fumbles by the Vikings. If I'm not mistaken, I went back and looked at this last night. It is only the 3rd time this season that they have not turned over the ball at least once via either interception or fumble.
Yeah.
I think that statistic is incredibly important. That's how you win playoff games. But Darnold, 30%, man. He was just absolutely fantastic. And I think the fact that a guy wearing 18 who's being really well paid across the sideline, who when he left here and Sam was signed, everyone scoffed. You can say now, you got to keep Sam, but there was a lot of, oh, really? Sam, what are they, crazy? This guy sucks. And he doesn't suck.
No,
he doesn't suck at all. He's been really good, 30%.
So you got 30% Sam Darnold, 20% each to Jefferson and Addison, 11% to Kwesi, 8% each to Josh Metellus and Byron Murphy Jr., and then Brian Asamoah and CJ Ham splitting 3%.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
I think just on the Darnold front, and Daniel Jones, who's now entered quarterback rehabilitation north, we have to be really careful. Bryce Young, we have to be really careful labeling quarterbacks a bust if they aren't in the right circumstance.
Bryce Young now, since coming back,
he looks like he can play.
He's showing something.
Yep, and maybe that's an environment that's getting a little bit better. I was texting with a mutual friend of ours who works for the Carolina Panthers, and he was saying, yeah, it's a big thing to turn around, but the vibes are very much different the last 5 or 6 weeks. But we just if a guy doesn't play well right away, we just throw our hands up. So, hey, before we get to the last chunk here, our nitpicks from yesterday to keep this thing balanced on our hottest Vikings takes live stream, let's talk about Finch Home Solutions. Finch Home Solutions, Judd.
You know what? I can almost guarantee you that the happiest guy in town yesterday was our guy, Cody Finch, because, well, 1, he gets to make your house safe, but 2, because he loves the Vikings and they won. Let's talk about the fact, though, that Finch Home Solutions can take care of any issue in your house, big or small, including those that might present danger to your home. For instance, flickering lights can mean something. Don't just say, hey, I got some flickering lights. It's no problem. That could mean that there's actually some bad stuff going on in the electrical system in your house. And guess what? Cody Finch and his team to the rescue. So if you've got a problem with that, they also do free smoke and carbon monoxide systems inspections. But heck, if you are thinking to yourself, I'd like to put in a hot tub, a luxury item. Guess who can do all of the electrical work there? So no project is too big. No project is too small. Finch Home Solutions has you covered. 612-357-2604 or check them out, finchhomesolutions.com. finchhomesolutions.com. They've been to Sports Dad's house. I've seen them firsthand. Courteous, professional, outstanding. So check them out, finchhomesolutions.com.
You know, my wife and I spent some time this weekend just going through gift lists for family, and I'm just not great at thinking of great gifts for people. My wife is amazing at it. That's where Woodhouse Spas could come in. If you're kind of like me and you're trying to think for your mom, your spouse, whoever it is on your list, well, Woodhouse Spas, locally owned, Maple Grove, Woodbury, Rosedale Center, offers 70 different spa services, including massages. Old Macadac's been known a few times a year.
Nothing wrong with a massage, dude. Nothing wrong with
relaxing
a massage.
Maybe some deep tissue. Body treatments, facials, nails, specialty packages. So think about who is that loved one in your life that you're having a hard time coming up with a gift idea for. They might love a gift card to Woodhouse Spas. Someone hit us up yesterday and said, I just got my wife a $500 gift card to Woodhouse Spas.
Husband of the year.
So that's amazing. Yeah, anniversaries, birthdays, go to woodhousespas.com or stop into one of their locations, Maple Grove, Woodbury, Rosedale, woodhousespas.com. And also, Nicolay Law is powering Purple Daily on a regular basis here and also helping those of you or your loved ones who've been injured in an accident. If that happens, make sure you connect with the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily, nicolaylaw.com. Or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. They are here to help you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. NicolayLaw.com. So when the Vikings lose, which is apparently very rarely, we do silver linings.
Yeah.
When they win, we do nitpicks.
A lot of nitpicks,
so
sure.
Give me a nitpick or two to keep this thing balanced here.
So the Vikings do a lot of things offensively well. There are nits here and there, and I'm going to give you a nit because we saw two occasions yesterday, and I know that you are going to accuse me of being a killjoy, but I would like to do an audit and see how often these things have worked. The trickery, the trick plays, the flea flicker that got you, I think, 3 yards, like this elaborate reverse and blah, 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 and it ends up being a pass, I think, to Addison for 3 yards. More importantly, though, near the goal line, splitting Darnold out and the direct snap to Jones. And Darnold, you must practice this occasionally if you're going to do it, but Darnold didn't even know where to line up. And in fact, then drew a flag for an illegal formation. Either we need a little bit more work here or we need to just not try these at times. I don't know. Like late in games, I hate them. And these were not late, but the trickery just doesn't seem to really, it feels like a fart in church a lot of times. Just doesn't really work all that well. Doesn't go over all that well.
So I will say, that Sam Darnold in motion thing with where were they at on that play? Like inside the 5, they were in the deep red, right?
They were in the deep red.
That kind of dovetails into my nitpick. I think KOC felt pressure to run that play because they just don't get great push in the run game when they're in the deep red and things are crowded. And my nitpick is, hey, they're 11-2 and they can throw the ball all over and their running game does show some flashes, but at some point they need to get more serious about their interior offensive line. You really can't until probably March at this point.
Sure.
But when they get inside the 5-yard line, they aren't able to just move a team out of the way like the Eagles do or like the Ravens do.
So instead of that though, and we've talked about this now for a month, why don't you go heavy? At least give it a chance.
Like bring another tackle.
Bring Ingram in. Bring in another tackle. Bring in another guard. I don't give a damn.
I agree.
But why not just the thing about it is in that situation, in my humble opinion, football wise, that's where you impose your will. That is just about snot and mud and dirt inside. Now that's not possible, but that's not about trickery to me. That's about we are now going to kick your ass.
Yeah, and they're not great at that.
No, I know, but why not then? But load up on that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, who's our Dan Skipper around here, right? Who's not only your extra lineman, but after the game is over, he is so exhausted from moving bodies around. He's throwing up in the trash can while Dan Campbell is giving the post-game speech.
You go
And Skip, whatever you keep throwing up over there, whatever you're doing, leaving it all on the field. And he like puts his arm up like
Animal House. Sounds like a football film from like the 80s or something.
Yeah, like how about Quessenberry? You know,
Right, okay. I'm fine
just
with
bring
whoever.
in Quessenberry to come in. There's got to be something.
Well,
they
how
can
about
do.
I formation with Quessenberry and Jones
CJ Ham? Or you're saying Quessenberry in the fullback position?
in the fullback position? Just come through and plow through.
I think what you could do is just put an extra lineman out there and also have CJ Ham
You
and
all-
just line it all up.
I'm just saying, I think that, like, and Sam Darnold, that play was right below me in the press box. Like, you could see the second that he motioned out, he was like, "Oh, where am I?" And wisely, I think he was just trying to bail, you know?
So the
because you don't want to get hit.
Greg Olson kind of explained if you are, because he was the only one in motion, which ordinarily wouldn't trigger an illegal like formation or motion penalty, but if you're the quarterback and you step out from under center and go in motion, you have to come to a stop.
Yes.
But then Greg Olson said the Vikings would argue if you watch them break the huddle, at no point did he ever actually like go into the quarterback position. He actually just like hovered around and then went in motion. So I think KOC might argue that by the letter of the law, technically it shouldn't have been a penalty, but the play also got blown up, right? It's not like I don't think he even
No, he
scored.
didn't score.
So
No, he didn't score. And Sam was here's my observation was Sam was very uncertain of what he should do.
Mhm.
So it's not like he was out tricking the officials. I think he was just intent. And again, if he was, do not blame him, Phil. I think he was intent on making sure he did not end up being hit.
Yeah. You know, they did, in terms of creativity in the deep red, the most creative thing and clever thing they've done that worked, and we highlighted this on Trenches. Jeremiah Searles filled in for Boone last week. The Vikings, I think, borrowed a concept from the 49ers playbook. The Niners, 2 different times, I don't know if they've done it this year because McCaffrey's been out, but 2 different times last year, like inside the 5 or inside the 10-yard line. It almost has to be inside the 5. What the Niners have done is they will run a play action to Christian McCaffrey, who then buzzes through the B gap, which, so if you think about it, usually like if a running back goes out, he takes a play action pass and he's there to either block or maybe he like scoots out around the line. They have McCaffrey buzz between the guard and the tackle, which is, if that gap closes, now all of a sudden like that route gets thrown off. But it's a designed route, and the Vikings stole that with Aaron Jones. That's the Aaron Jones touchdown from last week against the Cardinals. Play action broke through the B gap, and it's hard to, like, if you're a linebacker and you're trying to figure out. So I would just say like more creativity in the passing game until you get some more reliable interior offensive linemen.
Yeah. And
now they just don't get the push inside the 5-yard line.
Now, to be clear, they were 4 for 4 in the red. So like it was a good day.
Yep.
But as far as the run as far as like the run game goes at times, yes. I think you definitely do. You're definitely not in a position yet to kick some ass consistently. That's probably true.
But they're making it work.
Well,
because they are 11-2.
Keep in mind too, they are 11-2 now without Darisaw. That's another thing that
Not
we probably
talked about enough.
We
Yeah.
probably don't talk about the fact that a Pro Bowl left bleeping tackle has been out since the Rams game.
Yep.
And that's another crazy that trade. I mean that trade. Cam Robinson is not Christian Darisaw, but guess what? He's a lot better left tackle option than anything this team had.
Yep. So, all right. That's a wrap on this pretty epically long live edition of Hottest Vikings Takes.
Thanks for joining us, folks.
Yeah, if you guys like 3,000 people just hanging out on a Monday here live, and if you haven't already, maybe you're new to Purple Daily, click that subscribe button and the like button.
Here we go.
We'll get that flag.
This one's for you guys.
Or can we get the towel too? Can we get them both?
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
How's that?
Just keep that towel over your head there. Daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. See you guys. Declan, be safe out there. Watch out for sharks.